morning and welcome to another reading vlog. We are already choosing chaos on this Wednesday morning because Wilder has decided that it is his time to play with Brandon. She is not having it. She is not a morning lady. We are starting this vlog on a Wednesday, and this week I'm just going to be trying to read as much as I can. I was really curious how much I actually read in a week. I don't know. I know it's a pretty good bit. I think it's around 200 pages a day, but honestly, I have no idea. So we're gonna find out together and see how much I'm actually able to read as a full-time content creator and a person with an office job as well. So we're just gonna see. I am exhausted. I am also running late, which is not surprising. That is an every morning kind of situation because I just don't want to go, so I procrastinate a little bit. But I think we're gonna go grab some coffee. I'm going to decide what audiobook I'm gonna listen to on my way to work, and we're gonna get this day started. Okay, so I got something different today. I got the Mudslinger because I wanted to try the namesake. This looks phenomenal. I am very excited to try it. But first, I gotta pick an audiobook. I'm one of those people that oftentimes will listen to an audiobook and have a physical book. They're not always different, but a lot of times they will be, just because I don't have the one book in both formats, and I'm really struggling to find an audiobook right now. I'm also just struggling to focus in general, so whoops. But I think I'm gonna go with the Mime Order. My patron and I are doing a reread of the Bone season before the new book comes out, and I think this is a good time for me to pick that up. It's something that I've read before, so hopefully it'll be easy for me to focus on, and I know that they have good audiobooks. And then once I decide on what my ebook is gonna be, I'll let you guys know. But I needed something to read on the way to work this morning because it looks like there's a wreck and I may be here for a while.
Minds in the form of God on high, mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things. Edgar Allan Poe.
So I struggled today trying to figure out what I was going to read. I'm doing a collab with Cassidy at the end of the month, so get excited because it's going to be so much fun. But I don't know what books are on it, and therefore I have been just texting her being like, can I read this? Can I read this? Can I read this? And she told me that any sequels that I owned were safe. Therefore I picked up 2 sequels today. The first one was my audiobook, and that was the Mime Order. I actually managed to get a pretty decent chunk into this today. I got to chapter 10, which is 153 pages. Not bad. That was just listening to and from work. I usually read about 200 pages a day, honestly, but on Mondays and Wednesdays, I go to a further clinic, so I was able to get more read just listening back and forth. So 153 pages of this so far today, and I don't think I'm gonna read any more of that. Typically, all of my audiobook listening comes on my drive to and from work. Sometimes I will listen when I'm crocheting or something like that, but I don't think I'm gonna be doing that tonight. I think I'm just gonna watch TV and chill. And quick thoughts on this one so far. I am enjoying it, but I remember why I gave this one a 3-star originally. It's just really slow. We pick up right where the first book left off, but it's just not, there's not a whole lot happening. I did get to where something more is happening though, about chapter 9. So I'm excited to see that pacing kind of speed up a little bit and us to learn more. This world is so cool though. If you have no idea what the Bone season is about, it's following Paige Mahoney, who is a clairvoyant, and this is a dystopian type world where clairvoyants are considered unnatural, and if you're caught, you are imprisoned. There's a bunch of orders around. They're kind of like the gangs, and they help to protect and employ unnaturals. She is taken though and introduced to something called the Bone season, where basically a bunch of unnaturals are imprisoned and used for a different purpose, one that they did not really know about before. I don't want to say a lot more than that, but she meets the warden and she is essentially his charge. This has definitely got that rebellion plot line where we are trying to overthrow the Scion. We're trying to get past this overbearing body, kind of like the Hunger Games a little bit, but without the trial Hunger Games aspect. Think more Mockingjay. I really enjoy this world. I think it's very cool how the clairvoyants work, what they're able to do, how all of that twists around. And I am excited to continue this one. I just wish the pacing was a little bit faster. I did start an ebook, but I don't have it. So let me go grab it and then we'll chat about it really quick. Okay, grab my ebook. Again, with the sequels that I own, I started The Vows and Runes by Helen Scher. I read Blood and Steel a while ago, but I never continued on, and I don't really know why, honestly. I liked Blood and Steel. I gave it a 3.5 star, but felt like Althea read a little bit younger to me than I wanted. But Blood and Steel is set in a world where women are not allowed to touch weapons or swords. There's been a prophecy that when a woman touches a sword, she will bring destruction to all of Thesmar. So basically, they're just told, you can do other stuff, but you can't wield a sword. And there are war swords, which are like the elite warriors that are protecting Thesmar. All Althea wants to be is a war sword. All she wants to do is fight. And she's been training in secret when one day she is determined that she's going to get an audience with the king and petition to allow her to be a war sword. I liked the first book. It definitely had that training aspect to it. There's a little bit of a mentee mentor type plot thread that is much more prevalent in this one. And I think that's why I'm enjoying this one more. She and Wilder have a really fun, bantery type relationship. He's so grumpy, but in the best way. And this one also has had more Wilder in it so far. So again, I think that's part of the reason I'm enjoying it. And yes, Wilder is my Wilder's namesake. So I am having a great time with this one as well. Oh, and this one I got to about page 85 of today. So let's do some math. 153 plus 85 equals 238 pages so far today. Again, I might read a little bit more of this tonight, but probably not if I'm being completely honest. So 238 pages for today is pretty solid. That's pretty on par with my normal reading. I typically read somewhere between 150 and 200 pages a day, but I'm gonna go turn on the TV and just veg out for the rest of the evening. So I don't normally come to get coffee 2 days in a row, but today is the first day of the holiday drinks at Starbucks, and the sugar cookie almond latte is one of my favorite things that they make ever since they got rid of the s'mores. The s'mores was my favorite, but this is a very close second, and I just had to come get one. The app is down, which is quite rude, so we actually have to order in person, but I'm so excited. It's my turn. For some reason, I always get the hot one. There's something about the iced one that just has a little bit of a wang to me. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't happen when I use the sugar cookie cold foam on the cold brew. So whatever. But anyway, that was so hot and so good. It tastes like Christmas already. Hopefully you can hear me over the heater in my office, but I did want to ask because I forgot. Are you a sugar cookie girly or a peppermint mocha girly? Because I am not a peppermint mocha girly. I know that that is like sacrilege, honestly. I like the pumpkin spice, but I do not like peppermint. I don't want toothpaste flavor in my coffee. So I'm definitely a sugar cookie creme brulee girly, but let me know down in the comments what you prefer. It is the end of the day. I don't know if I'm going to read any more tonight, so I figured I would do a quick check-in with you guys, let you know how my reading went today. I read more of Mime Order. I really don't have any more thoughts on this one, so I just wanted to tell you guys that I got 90 pages into, and I'm on like chapter 15, page 240, or something like that. But what I did make some pretty good progress on and have been loving reading is Vows and Ruins. I'm currently like 300 pages into this, so I have read so much of this today, and I am living, I'm thriving. I liked Blood and Steel, but there were definitely some aspects to it that were not my absolute favorite. Thea read a little bit young, and I guess wasn't either in the mood for that or wasn't what I was expecting because it bothered me more than I would have thought that it would. I think it partially too because I had read Slaying the Shadow Prince and loved it, that Blood and Steel just felt like it was a little under that mark and my expectations were set really, really high. Now reading the second book in the series, I am having a great time. I think I can appreciate Thea's character a little bit more, and I think Helen Scher's writing just continues to evolve and mature. This book is expanding the world a lot. Some things I already knew from Slaying the Shadow Prince. Some people say to read it after this book. Some people say to read it as a prequel because it technically is a prequel. I think I liked having read it as a prequel and knowing some of this stuff going in, although I can see where reading it after this book would also be really appealing for some readers, especially it just kind of depends. Do you want to know or do you want to be in the know, you know? So I am having a great time with this. I'm liking Wilder and Thea's relationship. I do wish Wilder was a little less of a simp for her. Like, he is definitely head over heels for her, and while she definitely feels something for him too, you can see that she's still got some very strong motivations toward other things where he's like, Thea all the time. But you know what? I like a man that knows what he wants, so I can't complain too much. But I am having a fantastic time with this. I felt myself wanting to pick it up every spare moment that I had at work today instead of just scrolling on TikTok or whatever. I wanted to be reading. So I think I may read a little bit more in bed tonight. But as of right now, my total page count for the day is 300 pages. Better than yesterday, which is shocking because normally my Thursdays are not my high reading days. I do have a little bit of time before everyone gets into work on Thursdays to read, but typically speaking, I'm so tired when I get home that I don't want to pick up a book, and I don't usually get a lot of reading time at work on Thursday. So today feels extra productive. I am now a little over halfway into the Mime Order. I didn't get a lot listened today, but I did get a little bit further in, and I wanted to check in because while I still really enjoy this, and I think that this book does some really good things for expanding the kind of politics and the dynamics of being back in the underground, I do feel like it moves a little bit slowly. It has great character development. We learn learn a lot more about Paige. We learn a lot more about how she functions in the syndicate and a lot more about Jax and all of the other people that are a part of the Seven Dials. And I think that it does a really good job with all of that. We also get to learn a lot about the Underlords and the Underqueen and kind of all of those dynamics and politics that goes on. And I think that that is really, really cool, but it does tend to move really slowly. And so I know that that's just a problem that I had with this book the first time that I read it. It's probably going to continue to be a problem for me in this reread, but knowing what I know about what is to come, I'm totally fine with it, because I know that all of that is going to just make the fourth and fifth books in the series even juicier, even more impactful. This, I think, will pick up for me as we get more into the second half. I'm glad that we've got some familiar characters that are coming back into play. And like I said before, I think this world is really, really cool. And so I'm looking forward to reading more and remembering more about it, because it's been so long since I read these books. I've honestly forgotten a lot of the details. Like, I remembered kind of how I generally felt about each book, but all of the details are gone. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'm having a really good time with it. I am probably not going to read any more of this tonight. I'm going to flip into Vows and Ruins because I don't have much of that left, and I'm really excited to finish it. Bryn is currently chowing down in the background, so hopefully you guys cannot hear her, but I have now finished Vows and Ruins, and I wanted to tell you guys about it because I had so much fun with this book. I think it's going to be a 4-star, and considering the fact that I had a few issues with Blood and Steel, this is just so nice to know that I can hopefully love this series too. I loved the way the world expanded in this. I really appreciated Thea as a character more in this one. I'm not really sure what the difference was, but she seemed to grow up a lot, and I really liked her strength and her adaptability, but also the fact that she kept her significant stubbornness that we came to know and love in the first book. Her sister Rin still kind of got on my nerves, but she's starting to grow on me. As far as Wilder and Thea's relationship goes, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I like their grumpy kind of bickering back and forth nature, but I felt like some of the romance was a little bit too mushy for me, although there were some great lines in here that I was like, oh, that's so good. But as a general rule, once they kind of got together, it was a little bit mushy in the way that they were like talking to one another, and I was like, come on, let's snipe some more, let's argue a little bit, because that's just the banter that I thrive off of. But I still really enjoyed it. But this book ends on a massive cliffhanger, and I don't know how I'm supposed to move on with my life and not pick up Fate and Furies. I have a buddy read with Claire that we're supposed to start tonight, and I texted her and I was like, I love you, because I really, really want to start the third book in this series. We're going to prioritize it soon, but I am going to be moving on to Blood and Sands, which is a dark fantasy romance. I don't really know a whole lot about it other than it is a desert setting, and I've heard that it's a pretty slow burn, that the romance itself doesn't really come in until later on in the story, which sometimes I can really appreciate. So it sounds like it may be more of a fantasy romance than a romantasy, like leaning more on the fantasy side, but I'm excited to pick it up. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it so far. I am very, very tired. It is currently getting quite late and we just ended Sprint, so I will fill you guys in on my first thoughts of Blood in the Sands tomorrow, and I'll pop up on the screen how many pages I read for today because I'm way too tired to be doing math right now. I have new hair. I went and got my hair cut yesterday, and it was literally just supposed to be a trim. I wasn't going to do anything different to it, and then crinkbangs happened. So what do you think? I'm getting used to it. I loved it when she first did it, and then as I looked in the mirror throughout the day, I was like, this does not look like me. What did I do? But I fixed it a little bit differently today. We did a little different curl, and I think I'm liking it better. We're going to give it some time. Well, we have to give it some time because this is going to take a little while to grow out, but I kind of think I might be liking it. I don't know. I'll follow up on how I'm feeling later once I've had a couple days to get used to it. But I just wanted to check in because I didn't read a lick yesterday. I listened to Sabrina Carpenter pretty much all the way to and from mom, so instead of listening to an audiobook, I did that. And then I had to get up early to meet her, and then we had to go dress shopping, and then there was football, and there was just a lot going on yesterday, and so unfortunately I didn't open my book. I didn't read a page. I was exhausted by the time I got home. So Saturday has 0 pages, and we're gonna see what Sunday holds. There is a few errands that I need to run today, so I'm not sure how much reading time I'm gonna gonna get, but I do plan to get home at a semi-reasonable hour tonight, so hopefully I can get a decent amount of Blood in the Sands read, because I really do want to know about this story. I want to know what all of the hype is about, and Claire and I are buddy reading it. Fortunately, she didn't read any pages yesterday either, so we're at least still on the same track. It's the end of the day, and unfortunately I did not get nearly as much reading done as I wanted to today. I had a lot of errands to run. I managed to get groceries, so I actually did some productive things, but unfortunately that meant that I didn't get enough reading done. I did get to around page 50 of Blood in the Sand, so I do have a little bit to talk to you guys about. So far, all that's really happened is we have a girl that's been exiled, and in this world you have to be a part of a clan. If you've been exiled, then you will not survive the desert. Somehow she has managed to survive when she comes upon the Viper, who is a guy that wears a mask and is like the right-hand man of one of the clan's leaders, and he decides that rather than kill her outright, he is going to take her back and they're going to offer her blood to the desert in order to get more power and gain favor from the desert, because they think that that will help them in a coming war. When something happens, lightning strikes and she is able to get away, and she's going to try to warn the city that they're about to go to war to. Basically, I don't know anything else about it. I like it. I think that the world is interesting. I think what it's doing is interesting, although the writing style is a little bit funky. I don't know what it is, but every once in a while it almost feels like a sentence just, it's not that it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't flow very well, but for the most part all of it's fine. It's just every once in a while I'm getting kind of a weird sentence. I think that may just be like, I don't know, editing issues, but I am still enjoying it. No romance so far, no real banter or anything to speak of, but I will definitely keep you updated. I'm about to make the cheesiest chicken Alfredo ever, and I am so very excited about it. While I'm cutting up chicken and prepping dinner, I figured I would chat with you guys a little bit about Blood of the Sands. I am about 35% into this so far, and I'm just sadly not having the best time. I was really hoping that this would be a book that I was gonna love. I knew it was more fantasy than it was romantasy, but I was okay with that. Unfortunately, it is just moving at a snail's pace, and I feel like we are not getting any substance to anything. I was texting Maria because she read it and gave it like a 3.5 star, and I was like, okay, do I continue this or should I DNF it? She said to continue until I at least got to the trials, which I didn't even know that it had, and she thought I was getting pretty close, so I definitely will continue to that. But I just feel like the characters are extremely flat. I feel like the world building is kind of flimsy, and that's the part that I was the most looking forward to, was like the desert setting, the desert world, and unfortunately that just feels like I'm not getting really any explanation to anything. It's just like, well, this is a thing that they do, and I'm like, okay, but why is this a thing that they do? I need a little bit more than that. So unfortunately, it is just not hitting the way that I wanted it to. So I'm hoping that it starts to hit better once I get into the trials and the characters start to interact with each other more, because really the two main characters haven't really interacted at all other than that very first meeting. So I'm like, okay, maybe once they start interacting more and get into the trials part, I will like it better. But gosh, it is so slow right now. I also am a little bit further into the Mime Order. I probably won't give you guys much of an update on that until I'm done, because I only have an hour of it left. So we are getting very close to the finish line on that as well. So I will check back in once dinner is over, and hopefully I'll read a little bit more of Blood in the Sands tonight. I really want to get to the trials part to see if I want to continue it or not, because I need to know if this is something I should put down or push through. Happy Tuesday, friends. I am beyond tired this morning because the Goodreads Choice Awards came out last night. They weren't supposed to come out until today, and we were going to be doing a live show reaction, and they dropped at like 8:30 last night, so we decided to go ahead and do our reactions, and I stayed up way later than I meant to, and that's the second night in a row that I've stayed up way later than I meant to, so I'm about to go get all of the coffee once again. I did get about 100 pages of the Bone Season read yesterday, and then I also got about 150 pages read of, why can I not think of the title of that book? But anyway, I did get about 250 pages read yesterday, so I wanted to update you guys on that. I am at 50% into Blood of the Sands, thank you, and I just am really contemplating a DNF, to be honest with you. I'm not having a great time. It's just extremely boring. The world building feels very flimsy. There's been no romance, so I need the world building to be less flimsy, and then it feels like the characters are just beyond bland. On top of the writing style just isn't really working for me, and so I'm just really not having the best time. But Maria said that she felt very similarly in the first half. She ended up binging through the second half and loving it, and she wants me to just get to the trials. And I think that we've had a trial, but the fact that I think we've had a trial does not bode well for the trials. So I think I'm going to give it about 5% more and see what I think. And if I haven't gotten to a good trial by that point and I'm not really feeling it, we're going to be DNFing that book. I do need to at least finish the Bone Season today, and I need to either finish that book or decide if I'm going to be DNFing it, because today is the last day of the vlog. So I will talk to you guys after work, and wish me luck. I just got home, about to grab a shower. We're going to attempt to style these from scratch for the first time, and I'm a little bit concerned, I'm not going to lie to you. The bangs, like, I fixed them there, but she'd already been messing with them, and so I'm like, can I fix them again? We're gonna find out. Wish me luck. But I realized this morning, I told you guys that we reacted to the Goodreads Choice Awards last night. We did a live show with me, Cassidy, Lexi, and Bree's Patreon. There were a good bit of people there. It was so much fun. We were just guessing at what was gonna be in the categories and then reacting to them. And I realized I never really told you guys what I thought about the nominees and kind of what I'm planning to do moving forward. Last year, I read the romantasy category, and I'd actually found a book that I really, really enjoyed and some books that I absolutely hated. So that was the plan this year. But when we saw the romantasy category, I don't love it. It's not as bad as fantasy. Fantasy was terrible, but the romantasy just wasn't calling to me either. There were a lot of sequels, a lot of series that I had DNF'd or there was no way I could catch up on. And then the rest of them were like cozy. So out of that, there was only like 1 or 2 books that I was really interested in. So I was like, I just don't think I'm gonna do this. I do think I'm going to do some version of a Goodreads video, so keep your eyes peeled for exactly what that is. But I don't know that I'll be reading the romantasy category this year. But something's coming, and I think it's gonna be fun. Anyway, I need to get to reading because I told you guys I had to make some decisions on what I was gonna do about Blood in the Sands. I did manage to finish the Mime Order, so check that off the list. So once I make a decision or get a lot more read of Blood in the Sands, we'll check back in and then we'll close out this vlog. Okay, it is the end of Tuesday and a wrap on this vlog, but I do need to fill you in on how much I read and my final thoughts on a couple of books. The first one is going to be the Mime Order. I finished this today on my way home. I read about 85 pages of it today. Really enjoyed the ending quite a lot. I don't have a lot more thoughts on this, but the ending picks up beautifully. We get some answers to some of the burning questions. We see Paige finally really stand up for herself and make some really important decisions that could make or break her, and I loved seeing that character growth and seeing the plot and the politics start to expand. I do still think this is a 3.5-star book. While I really enjoyed it, there were definitely parts that were really slow. I don't think it needed to be quite as long as it was, and I think that the pacing could have been tightened up a little bit, but I still really enjoy this one. I think it is a better book than the Bone Season. From what I remember liking them even better like as I went, so I cannot wait to continue on to my reread of The Song Rising and see if that trend sticks. So 85 pages for this one. And then at about 55%, I decided to DNF Blood of the Sands. I'm really disappointed because I was hoping to love this one, but everything just feels so flat. Maria said to get to the trials before I put it down. I got to the trials and I was still not loving it. There was no banter, there was no chemistry, the characters had no spunk to them, no life. The trials even were kind of boring, and I just felt like the desert setting needed to be more if that was going to be all it was. And I just felt like some of the writing was a little little lazy in how things were and were not explained, so it just overall was not gonna work for me. I think it was gonna be a 2.5, 3-star, and I don't need that kind of mojo in my life right now. We need 4 and 5-star books over here. I put it down and probably read about 40 pages today, 35, 40 pages. I really didn't read a whole lot today. I kind of had a gut feeling that I was going to DNF it. So when I picked it back up and thought, I just don't care, I don't want to read this, I was like, nope, we got to put this down, we got to get rid of it. So I read about 115 pages today. Definitely not my best reading day of the week, but that's okay. We still got some reading in and we got to close out this vlog. So for the week, I will leave how many pages I read total. I was pretty on par with my 200 pages a day. I definitely don't read as much on the weekends, and I knew that. Although this weekend was much more busy than usual, I rarely read as much on Saturdays. I do usually get some more reading in on Sundays than I did, but either way, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Let me know down in the comments below, how much do you typically read in a week? Are you an everyday reader? Are you a binge a day and then don't read for a couple of days kind of reader? Like, what is your reading habits down in the comments below? If you just want to let me know that you were here and hanging out, leave me a building emoji for the Mime Order. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!